Well, hello, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to AUA Hub. And my name is Carol Cook, and I will be your host for today. And joining us is our guest host, Neil Janklow. And Neil is a healing practitioner that uses yoga, sound, and music. And we have Gloria Steiner. She is out on assignment today. And Chris Ann Carwitz, she is out on assignment today. And with great happiness, I would like to introduce our guest today. I think that this is so special. I have Rama Franklin joining us. She uses the title of spiritual Deva, not diva, Deva, and she's also a counselor. And I am so excited to have her share her story, what she has done in her life, her thoughts, and all the intricacies of the universe and how she has joined those up. And so with that, I would like to say welcome, Rama. Thank you for being on AUA Hub today.
Thank you so much, Carol, for inviting me to be here. It's a pleasure and an honor, and I'm very grateful for this particular Angelic Universal Alignment Network that you have created.
Well, thank you so much. And I do want to ask you, when we were talking and you were sharing what your title was, I didn't quite understand Deva. And for our listeners and for Neil, if you could expand on that so that we can get more focus in on what you do.
Sure. A spiritual Deva, they are divine beings, and people are familiar with, say, Elohim and angels and seraphim and those type of spiritual words or groups of beings. And Deva is in that type of family. Spiritual Deva basically is just divine beings. So I use that because it's who I am. And people have told me in my past, people who I honor and respect, different teachers have said that that's what I should be using. It took me a minute, but I'm there now. So I see myself now as a spiritual Deva / counselor.
Okay. That's really intriguing to me because it leads us into so many different directions of spirituality that everybody can reach in and listen to this and gravitate to. And I just am so excited that you're here today. And with that, I would like to introduce our co-host, which is Neil Janklow. And Neil, if you would join in and we can welcome Rama in.
Yes. Welcome, Rama. It's an honor. It's a pleasure to speak with you today. I'm really looking forward to exploring your experience and finding out more, just learning about what you've how you found your path and where it took you. I'm sure you've got some insight and stories.
Well, it's good to meet you too. Yes. It's good to meet you too, Neil. Thank you so much for your warm welcome.
Oh, of course.
Well, Rama, I would like to start off and say, if if I have several questions that I always like to ask our guests, and the first one is what began your path of enlightenment so many years ago? And this has nothing to do with our age, but I call it our seasonability. So, what was it that started you on your path? If you could share that with us and bring that up currently.
Absolutely, Carol. But before I answer that question, I just would like to chant something to bring the frequency to a place where all those that are listening can feel the truth coming through. And so it is this. Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotir Gamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So basically, I'm asking the source, the Almighty Creator, the divine love of this cosmic multi-universe. I'm asking for us to be led from untruth to the truth, from the darkness to the light, and from death to immortality of all eternity. So,
oh, beautiful.
Thank you. And let me just go right into answering your question. What brought me to this path of enlightenment so many years ago? Well, the first thing that comes to mind, Carol, is that, and Neil, is that as a child, I noticed a lot when I slept. I would see myself as a angel, as a little angel on the clouds in the sky. So when I was sleeping, I was going to sleep on the clouds. And I remember that so distinctly. So I took note of it. I remember things from very small, I think believe it's starting at things 2 and 3 years old. So that was one of them, that I noticed I was an angel sleeping in the clouds. Another one was very early on, I noticed the frequency of my playmates. And I felt that I had so much love. And if you had asked me at that time as a child, 6, 7 years old, running around in the neighborhood playing with other children, I would not have been able to articulate that it was this love, incredible love frequency that I was feeling. But I knew that I was loving. I had a lot of love. To explain what love was, no, I probably couldn't do that. But I knew it was a very strong love I had in me. And I felt that other children, I didn't feel that vibrating from them. So that was another note to self that something here was different. I had all this love. And also, as a child, these experiences were telling me something. I remember past lives. I loved music as a child, and I could sit in my mom and stepdad's home and listen to the music. Excuse me. Something got in my throat. I could sit and listen to music, and then I would see past lives of mine. So I remember that. And I realized that I had been here before as a child, because I would see myself in these particularly different cultures and different places and ancient times. So that told me something. And also, what really secured me on this spiritual path was I met some incredible realized beings. They became my teachers. And one of them was Sai Baba from India. He was an avatar. Another was Sri Anandima, who was a realized being, Divine Mother. And Guruji, Madhusudan Dasji, he was also an avatar. And all three of them became my teachers in the physical capacity here, in this third dimensional place that we live. So just having those type of realized beings guide my life, it just was phenomenal. It, you know, how I ended up with them and not others, I can't tell you, but you know, it happened that way. And that really rooted me on my spiritual path, because after I went to India as a young person, my life was never the same after that. So something happened to me over there that really impacted me. And, you know, just got things going and rolling. And so I'm very grateful for that.
That is absolutely fascinating. And you found these teachers.
Yes.
But it wasn't you finding them. Did they find you?
Well, you know, there's a saying, Carol, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And I believe that. I think, you know, I became ready. You know, I had teachers, you know, I think I was born to teachers. Like my mother, she's still with us today. She's 94. She was my first teacher. And incredible, special woman. And I'm so grateful to her that I was born into that lineage, that family. And she was my first teacher. And then as time went on, you know, I guess I went to the next level, and then there were other teachers. I was ready to learn whatever it was that Sri Sai Baba had for me, Guruji and Anandima, what they had. And Sri Anandima was a Shaktipat master. So that was connected to awakening the Kundalini in me, and having the Kundalini, you know, move and go through my chakras to lead me to where I am today. I think the chakra system is very important for our spiritual development. The Kundalini is in all people, but for many people, for many humans on the planet, it lays dormant until it's awakened. And so that got things going for me. So India, the teachings from India, like yoga and understanding, you know, yoga is nothing but union with God, you know, you know, your own God self. And that was something that was profound and led me on my way, on my journey. So when the student is ready, the teacher or teachers will appear.
This is completely fascinating. Neil, do you have some questions or input for something that sounds very similar to your path?
There's synchronicity. There's parallelism. It kind of speaks to how long we've both been on the planet. I'm right there in the same in this life, in this same amount of decades. Back in the early 70s, late 60s, for people who were feeling, and I'm just so it's what's the word, resonating with what you're saying, Deva. Very similar situation with me. I don't want to talk about my whole story, but it's the pull to study with a master Eastern philosophy pulled me as well. I ended up spending a lot of time in India and practicing Kundalini Yoga and studying with I think you mentioned there you call them avatars, or
yes, such as Sai Baba, definitely avatar, Guruji avatar. Although Guruji Madhadu Sandasti did not call himself an avatar, but we called him one because he was just beyond otherworldly. And I already knew an avatar in Satya Sai Baba and Guruji, as we've affectionately called him, was just like Satya Sai Baba.
Right. So there's this pull, like you had a sense, and then the teacher finds the student when the time is right. We were all reading autobiography of a yogi, Ram Dass's "Be Here Now." This was the beginning of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and then that Sri Chinmoy was doing the Hare Krishna movement. All the musicians were getting involved with this at that time. Well, not all of them, but the ones that were seeking to have truth come out through their music. I mean, I can tell you're musical right as soon as you started chanting, and that's Sanskrit, right? The chant you were doing with Sanskrit.
Yes,
chant.
that was Sanskrit. Right? Yes,
right. And that's just it's just one of the absolutely oldest languages on the planet that's been marked down as a text, as a written text, and it's vibrational. It's just powerful. For myself too. I mean, the interesting thing is being pulled to India, being there, and then realizing your past lives at an early age, and that you had so much more love all around you, and to share and to give, and we're kind of expecting it, but weren't finding it. I mean, that's all exactly my experience, and that points to certain things. Anyway, yes. Answered Carol's question.
Synchronicities, I can't make it up.
There's a lot of people on the planet and who started around in the late 60s and found truth, found a practice, found a master, studied like crazy, and 47, 50 years almost later, they're around. I know people who have followed Sai Baba, Anandama, Guruji Meher Baba, Krishnamurti. I mean, there's just so many people on the planet that are. Pardon? Go ahead.
No, you're right. So many. There's tons of them. I mean, we could just Guru Mai. We could just Muktananda. Many of them are still still on the planet. Others have already left in Samadhi, but. Yeah, it's important, it's important because they brought incredible truths with them to share with humankind. And and you're right, it was the 60s and 70s. I grew up in that time, and here we are today. But I'll tell you, as a African American woman, very proud of my heritage and being of African descent. I was on my way to Africa when I was, in my late teens. And Spirit said, that's all well and good, but we want you in India. And it was difficult for me. It was very, very, very difficult because I had a trip already planned to Africa, my tickets, my visas, all of that. And then 2 weeks before, I was told I could not go. And I was just so downhearted and downtrodden and so forth and so on. And as time went on, I learned how to meditate. I started going to some of the centers I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts. Some of the centers that were around in Cambridge and Brookline and in Boston, there were groups of people that were meditating, and I was beginning to learn to meditate. Lo and behold, I didn't know that these great teachers, they know about you before you know about them. And, and again, they say, such as Sai Baba particularly, no one goes there unless he calls you. So, I sort of just surrendered to that, and then, it changed my life. It changed my life.
Well, at this moment, Rama, what we're going to do is we're going to take a commercial break. And when we come back, this is just fascinating. I'd like you to expand on that, please, if you could, and maybe even what's happened in the last 3 to 5 years. So for right now, we're going to go ahead and take a commercial break from one of our sponsors, and we will be right back. Thank you. Dreams can come true if you only believe your story is real.
Today's sponsor is Angel Heart for You. Nestled in the heart of beautiful downtown Benicia, California. Come embrace the aromas of scented candles, essential oils, incense, and aromatherapy products as you wander the aisles of our inspirational, metaphysical, book, and gift shop. Please call 707-745-2024. Dreams can come true if you only believe your story is written.
Well, welcome back. And we have our guest host, Neil Janklow. And our guest today is Rama Franklin, who is a spiritual Deva and counselor. And right before we took our commercial break, Rama was telling us how the gurus found her and called her, not physically on the phone, but through energy. And so, Rama, can you tell us a little bit more about your adventures after you were not able to go to Africa like you had planned?
Yes, I found myself, I was singing in a group, and there were 4 of us. This group was called the Dennis Wally Black Ensemble back in the day. And this group was 14 pieces. We had 4 singers and the rest were all instrumentalists. And 2 of the singers were going with me to Africa, and they went on. And so when I was told I couldn't go, it was like a chartered plane out of New York, and they told me that they hadn't received my money in time, and that there were no seats on the plane, and they were sorry, and this and that, and all this other stuff. And so I just surrendered. And so then I find out later on that there were plenty of seats on that plane. And like I said, my colleagues in this music band that we were in, they had gone on. And they came back and told me. So I knew that something was up, that God had a plan for me and my life. And as I said, soon after that, meditation started popping up all around in the neighborhood, like different, groups pulling me in. I mean, because back in those days, people were that was the time of, music, free love, as we said, but actually that was like, I guess, free sex and love, and, cannabis was back there, and martial arts, and people, we became vegetarians, which was very important to, your diet, so that you could be a clearer, cleaner vessel, all of that. And I found myself meditating, and pretty soon I went to India. And I went to stay at the ashram of Sai Baba. And from that time on, my life was never the same. I was different when I came back. I really had an experience there, which was, people would say, out of body experience, but I was knocked out for about 3 days. And when I returned, I felt like I was a different person, a new person. And, my life just got better and better. And when I came back to the United States, it was very difficult for me to integrate back in here, because it was such an incredible experience there. And so as time went on, from that experience, I realized more and more of who I was and what I was doing here, because more and more I felt my life wasn't my own, that I was really guided by this incredible source, which we call, the creator, the source of all light and love. And so I think that that's an important piece right there, because my consciousness has merged with the Almighty. And I think that's what, part of coming and being on planet Earth, all of us, like the frequency and merging with the light, and becoming love, you are the change you've been waiting for. How do we do that? And that, I think, is what's going to carry us with this shift in the change of this planet that we're seeing now, is that we become one, not only with the creative source, but with each other. Unity is very important for us here. And we can choose it, we can choose how we're going to be, and our perspective. You can choose joy, or you can choose, say, sadness. There's a lot of things going on the planet Earth right now that can make you very sad. You can see it, you can see, I just came back from out of the country, and was down near the Caribbean Sea. And I think about the color of the water, and it was still very much more beautiful than the Pacific coastline, but yet and still it was changing. It wasn't as clear and blue as once I saw it. And so, it tells us what's happening. Mother Earth is crying out, and it's up to us to, send her love and light, and take care of her, because she's taking care of all of us up till now. So anyway, I think that, the consciousness merging with light and love, and you call Allah, Jah, Jehovah, God, Divine Mother, Jesus, Buddha, I don't care what you call it, the source, creator, almighty. I mean, there had been the cosmic reality of, of truth, maybe, but merging into that. And that's what I've realized has really helped me on a daily basis.
Well, it's fascinating. in listening to what you have said. And I know Neil at different times in our friendship has indicated, to come back to the United States after having such, moving experiences, is difficult to integrate back into the economy here, the social hierarchies that people want to put in place. And so I'd like to ask also, in the last 3 to 5 years, I know that in a prior conversation that I had with you, you said that you had gone down to this area in Mexico when you had turned a certain age. And then also this year when you went, it was monumental because it was at the same time that you had your birthday again that you went down there. Can you talk to us a little bit about your experience and what that did with your energy?
Sure. And I went to the Yucatan. I was called to go down there. History has always been something that has, ancient history to be exact, has always called me. And the Mayans, they were incredible people. And they still are, but the ancient Mayans really gave this world a lot of information, particularly about time frames and calendars and time shifts of this earth and what was going to happen. And we're experiencing a lot of what they said. So I've always had a love affair with India. And what happened was when I was 39 years old. When I was going to turn 40, India released me to go down to the Yucatan because what was happening is I couldn't go anywhere else but to India. I've been there quite a few times in my life. And then when I was turning 40, she released me and I went down to the Yucatan. Now, I was called down there too. And when I was down there, I didn't need much sleep. I only needed 3.5 hours every night. My little room, I stayed in on the beach. Every morning I woke up maybe 4:30 and the sun was coming up and I was facing east and it was incredible. And I had prophetic dreams down there. So there was a thin veil, like something was there. I don't know what was there, but I felt like there was something in the water, like a huge crystal something that was there. And it affected me. And then when I went back 30 years later, I just came back from there. It's very developed and it's very different. I did feel this energy and I noticed that I still had dreams every night. I'm not recalling they were so prophetic, but before they were very prophetic down there. And I noticed that it was some type of return for me. And I completed a circle. So I went down there to see some friends and there were some special people that I had contact with. And one of my friends had a son and a very special son. And I went and I met him for the first time. And so Spirit was sending me back down there to just probably in a spiritual way, complete some things, the energy. So anyway, everything is changing. And so there are people down there that are doing some phenomenal work with the shamans. And there are a lot of plant medicine women down there working with shamans. And as you know, all over the world right now, there is, people are trying to heal themselves by using plant medicine. So That's going on down there in the Yucatan and going into Central America, into South America. So that energy was good for me. Again, the Mayans, their calendar ended, but did it really? It really was talking about 2012. Something wonderful was going to happen here. And what it was going to be a new dawning coming in of energy, a shift on the planet. And it started in 2012. And we're in it right now, and it's moving fast. We're moving up, in terms of the different levels and planes of existence. Many call them dimensions. So we're moving from the third dimension to the fifth dimension. And we're really already in the fourth dimension. We've kind of moved, but we haven't landed into the fifth dimension. That's going to take a little more time, but things are moving fast and things are shifting fast on planet Earth. And the frequencies with people, we can see this with the people, that they are wanting to elevate themselves. So that was my experience when I went this time. There were so many healers working with shamans that it was good to see, because the earth needs healing. We all need to heal ourselves before, individually, to come together collectively to save planet Earth.
Well, as you're talking, I was getting the visions of a huge amount of influx of people down into the Yucatan. I mean, the airports were overflowing because there's such a rush, it seems, for so much healing to take place. I wanted to ask Neil. Neil, did you have any question that you would like to pose from the discussion?
Well, I'm curious. I know that you spoke of studying with in India, where there's a lot of emphasis on austerity and diet, and the practices require, meditation and doing pranayama, yoga postures, all these things to get the Kundalini to raise. How did you move from that kind of area of focus, which is kind of specific, to spirit entities, shamanistic healing, the shift? Was this something that had occurred in meditation, or were the people around you that you were with working in shamanistic fields and healing fields? Because I'm just very curious.
Yes, it's the people around me that, clearly spirit wanted me down in the Yucatan, because I was allowed to go down there, freed up from India to go down there. And I particularly was, back in those days, 30 years ago to be exact, I particularly was drawn to Tulum. And in those days, you could go into Tulum, to that ruin, and you could go up on the pyramid. And I happened to be able to go up and meditate there and all of that. You can't do that today. They've roped off places and this and that. But clearly for me, Kundalini Maha Yoga is my foundation, and it's somewhat different from many of my friends whose path happens to be, linked with the Mayan culture or even the Inca culture, to say that going further down into South America, the Peruvian culture and so forth and so on. But it's not so much my path. It's just a lot of people around me. We're all vibrating at different frequencies. So some people, they may need to deal with plant medicine for their healing, and others may not, because some people could go on into a deep meditation, and come out of it and never be the same. Whereas somebody else might have to experience, plant medicine and have the same experience. So it was really just, Neil, people around me that I know. And I was called to go down there. And Spirit has told me a long time ago that I was like a bridge. I was a bridge for the races. And that's not just human races, all races. There are races that are outside of the planet as well. We're not the only life force that exists in this vast consciousness, multi-universe, or whatever, however you want to call it. But I think that I also identify as a light being, because that's where we're moving. We're moving to the fifth dimension and the light body, and we're light beings. And I think that the radiating your light, and people do it through different ways, sound energy. Some of the, they're doing a lot of that down in the Yucatan. A lot of people are doing sound baths and are healing people, so my path is still the very strict Kundalini Maha Yoga, because it is not a path for everybody, and thank God we have many paths that people can take. You do not have to take the same path to get to the destination. But we respect all the divine work that's being done, just like we have all these different languages. There are a lot of paths, I remember growing up as in the Baptist church, and there was said, there are many houses in my father's mansion or something like that. So the bottom line is, just as long as you're on a path and it's not harming anybody and not harming yourself, you got to have a practice. That is important. A spiritual practice, consistent spiritual practice. Because today, with the frequencies changing, the earth shifting, I believe the earth is still moving in the photon belt, which is nothing but light. We're moving through it. And all this shifting that the Mayans talked about, and of course, in India, they talk about we're in Kali Yuga, which is a very low vibrational time, but yet it's a wonderful time to be here, because you could go right into self-realization, God realization with a snap of a finger. So, I hope that answered your question, Neil.
Yes, it led to another one, but I think we're coming up on a break quite soon here, and then we can follow up afterwards. But that did clarify. The people that were around you were helping you discover, and it's all really is one of the same thing. It's a lot of different ways to get to the same place, to reunite. Creation is reuniting. The Creator is drawing us back to him, her, itself,
right?
And like a parent who wants to reconnect with its children.
That's right. We're going back to our true divine selves.
Well,
and there's a lot of ways to do that.
At this point in time, I'm going to ask for our producer that we take our last break this afternoon. And then when we come back, we'll get even further into more information from Rama and Neil. So thank you both, and we'll be right back.
Your story is written.
Today's sponsor is Stewart Fitness, working with a professional personal trainer with years of experience is one of the fastest, easiest, and most successful ways to improve your health, fitness, and lifestyle, specializing in working with clients with health issues, sports injuries, and proven results with clients losing 30 pounds all the way up to 100 pounds or more. Make the best decision of your life now and contact Brian Stewart at Stewart Fitness, 415-397-4270.
If you only believe your story is written so real.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to AUA Hub. And we have our guest host, Neil Janklow, but we have a fascinating guest today, and this is Rama Franklin. And I had an inquiry via text message before I get to the last question that I really wanted to ask you also. And this inquiry that we had to do with what is the difference with Kundalini Yoga versus, I guess, other yogas or other modalities? Is that a really hard question, or is that easy to answer?
Well, I think it's a simple question, actually, because there are many types of yoga. I think there's like 128 or maybe even more. I'm not quite sure of the exact number, but there are all kinds of yogas. There's many branches. And so Kundalini, I didn't just practice, and I don't just practice Kundalini yoga. It's the great Kundalini. It's Kundalini Maha yoga, and it's from a very old, thousands and thousands of years handed down. It's a lineage that goes back to the great avatar Ram that existed on the planet in the days when they had flying vehicles. I think they called them Vasima, something similar to that, Vasimas or something. They're written in the scriptures in that culture, but it goes back so very far. I mean, thousands and thousands of years ago. So Kundalini Maha, the great. Maha means great. And Kundalini, of course, is Shakti, is energy, and everything is energy. But the Kundalini exists. You won't see her with your eyes, but she exists in every human. And she begins at the base of the spine. And once she's activated, she goes up the spine and hits every chakra, which is like an energy center. And she tries to go through it, burst through it, so that one can reap the benefits of what that particular chakra brings. Because each chakra brings benefits, and it has a sound to it, and it has a color. And once the Kundalini moves from the bottom chakra at the base of your spine, all the way to the top of your crown chakra, and bursts through. And remember, there are other chakras. These are just the chakras that are in this human form. There are chakras that go beyond. And so it's incredible, because that's what we want to do here. We want to move the energy. We want to sort of change our frequency to a very high frequency. And you cannot do that if the Kundalini lays dormant. And you will continue to take births here on this planet until that happens. So Kundalini Maha Yoga is something that is wonderful, and it works for the people here. And it's much more than just movements like asanas. It's something else. It's like energy. Everything is energy, just vibrating at a different speed, but it's action. It's a life force. Without it, this body wouldn't work. the Kundalini. And it's written in many of the scriptures too, the old ancient ones in India, the Vedas, and they talk about the Kundalini. And, you know, not everybody practices it because there are so many different types of yoga, you know. But I believe it falls under the tantric yoga system. But, you know, here in the West, we don't have all of the the true yogas. I mean, people could go online and Google this yoga and that yoga, but you know, it's different reading in a book than actually experiencing something. You know, books are wonderful. We encourage people to read books, but you know, don't become too much of that. You want to experience something here. It's the experience that will take you far.
Well, thank you for sharing that description of the difference between Kundalini, excuse my language here, Kundalini yoga and other yogas. And then I do have one last question for you, because now we're getting near the close of our show. What do you see in your future coming forward? And any words about manifestation?
Well, you know, I try not to spend too much time in the future. I really think that if we could just stay in the now, that's where our joy lives. It's in the now. But if I were to think about the future, I think about a place where everybody's in you know, in peace with themselves, and there's divine love, and there's no duality. Okay, right now we're under you know, good and bad, you know, light and dark, you know, full and empty. You know, it's a duality going on here. We're living in a duality world. And so in the future, I feel like I see us coming together as one collective cosmic consciousness that is about love, and it's about light, and it's about no illness, no sickness. It's about, you know, just everybody learns how to be, just, you know, just be, and to be happy in their souls. I think it's the birthright of people that they should be happy and not suffer. So for me, I see us moving to that. We're moving. You know, there's a key word everybody's using today: ascension. The planet is ascending. Mother Earth, planet Earth, Gaia, whatever names people have for this planet, because there were a lot of names. Some call this planet the planet of the children. But this planet is even moving. It's shifting into the fifth dimension, and so are we. And once we are all, it's a consciousness, okay? It's a level of consciousness, and we're all moving there. We're not all moving there at the same rate, but hopefully we'll all get there, and that will be a beautiful day. Well, much more than what, you know, people are experiencing today. There's a lot of turmoil here, but, you know, well, we'll get there.
Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
Wonderful. Yes, thank you.
And so, believe it or not, we're now to the end of the podcast. It doesn't seem like we've had enough time.
Yes.
So with that, I want to thank our producers, our producer at Contact Radio. I'd like to thank Neil Janklow for being guest host today. And most definitely, I would like to thank Rama Franklin for being our guest today. Absolutely enjoyed this conversation. And thank you so much for sharing your time with all of us.
Carol, it was my pleasure, and thank you for the invitation. And Peace and love. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.